Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Elise. This is another Truth on YouTube. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to something that I have to say. A trigger warning comes with this video. I will be talking about sensitive topics around mental illness, victimhood, centering, and so on. If these things are particularly sensitive to you, please come back at another time when I'm discussing something not so triggering. Now, this is part two. I didn't intend to make a part one or part two, but I realized I forgot a real central point in what I wanted to make in my last video, but I guess it didn't work out that way. What needed to be said last night was said, and now I can kind of really focus in on this other part of it because I think this is the center most problem for Backwoods Barbi. Um, so Backwoods Barbi is, how do I say it? She, in my opinion, she seems to resent victims, especially when they're telling their stories. And it seems especially when she thinks they're profiting off of their own trauma. Why I say that is because some time ago I saw a clip. It was a clip or something showing Barbi, or maybe it was Backwoods Barbi herself. I can't remember who's credited with it, showing that she was asking her subscribers to boycott Shiny Happy People because she wasn't credited for her work. Now, I remember hearing her 2 or 3 words in it about a food bank. That's it. That's all I heard. And I'm like saying, what the hell is she talking about? Because in my viewing of Shiny Happy People, I can't identify with these victims because I haven't been through the trauma that they've been through in being in this particular organization. And, there are things that I can relate to in terms of symptoms, in terms of certain types of feelings, but I can't relate to the experiences because I never had those. And of course, I want to hear about them because that is the center of this show. And their experiences are important in talking about these things and healing from them. And I didn't sense anything anti-religious about it, or making a call to bring down faith or anything like that. I mean, there are a lot of people who have strong faith who have been in cults and organizations that have taken that security or taken that innermost thing away from them, but some of them still retain their belief in God. I don't find anything wrong with that. That's a personal decision. That's a spiritual decision, and I understand, but their experiences have to be told because there were malicious people doing bad things in this organization to other people. That is why what I wanted to listen to. That what makes this show invaluable to other people who can identify with this. And I think Backwoods Barbi even said herself in the latest community post, that it's important to express yourselves, share your experiences. But yet, if we were to go back into this, she wanted an entire show boycott by her subscribers because she wasn't credited for saying food bank in a video. Okay? That is absolutely fucking absurd on a stratospheric level. It's a stratospheric level of selfishness. Okay? And I think that Backwoods Barbi really resents when other victims have their say. She seems to think they're getting the crux of the information. They're getting the attention she's not getting. Now, I would have been okay if it were really just about her not being credited for her work. And that is where I understand where that frustration is, because she wasn't recognized for that. She worked hard for that. And had I known more about this video, I might have grabbed on that link to learn more about what she was talking about in reference to this documentary, how it was relevant. Okay. And yes, I personally recognized her voice in there. And I'm like, well, what else is there? What else? I was curious. So if I didn't know who she was, I wouldn't care. I would just continue to go on. But yeah, that did catch my ear. I'm going to be honest with you. But that isn't why I'm watching the show. I'm watching the show because I care. I'm concerned about the people in it. I wanted to support another content creator, Fundy Fridays, whose channel is outstanding in a great way, fabulously wonderful and supportive of her community. She doesn't gaslight them. She doesn't manipulate them. She doesn't make herself a victim of anything. She really gives an open, kind space to people. Now, so yeah, Barbie was in contrast. Barbie wanted nobody to hear about their experiences because a few of her words weren't credited. I do think Barbie's words should have been credited, like I said before. I will give that. But if we're looking at terms of importance here, and that's something Barbie should advocate for herself to do. But to try to take away people's experiences because she felt victimized by this, absolutely absurd. And I'm glad people are not feeding into it. I hope no one's feeding into it because it's not good for her at the end of the day. She has to learn to balance these things. Life is fucking unfair. Life is unfair. Okay? It's dog eat dog out world out there. And but you got to put it in perspective. She has to put it in perspective because she's going to drive herself to illness if she keeps up with this petty nonsense. And she wonders why her channel isn't doing as well as she thinks it should be doing. But this pity party is not going to make money. It's going to sink her visibility. And she only really has herself to blame out of this. But we shouldn't be, in general, none of us should be taking away from victims. And I will tell you my personal take on my personal experience on it. You know, and it is selfishness, and it seems like she doesn't have empathy. It seems kind of narcissistic, but it's really not. It comes from a place of pain and not being able to regulate those emotions and putting those things in perspective. I don't think Barbie is intentionally malicious in this, but it is malicious anyway. It is awful. And between her threats toward Elle Bee or any other creators that feel threatened by her, to telling Renelle Smith basically to shut up, being inappropriate, bullying her, and all this other nonsense, she's really on a track to getting herself into some serious trouble. And her threats to use the law to silence people. I mean, people don't take kindly to frivolous lawsuits and abuse. Now, I can't say who feels threatened by her. I mean, personally, I don't think she's really going to carry it out. I think she's just talking a lot of rubbish. But it has to be taken seriously, nevertheless, because this shit can escalate. This stuff can escalate. And it has to be called out, and it has to be called out by other people who have borderline personality disorder, because a lot of us come from a similar place of feeling worthless and despondent, and we have to chase the smallest, most insignificant detail and not think about the whole picture, and then going back and forth. They call it splitting. I don't even like that term. I'm not going to use it. But it's either one way or the other. But all of this stress and tension over these kinds of things has deleterious complications to our health, our relationships, everything. And, Barbie has a lot going for her. She has a family, she has a platform, she has a channel, she has stage presence. And no, I'm not talking about her emotional drama she dumps all over everybody. I'm talking about the actual interesting and entertaining work that she has provided the public, and all of those things. But she's going to ruin it because she's going to get herself in trouble with the law, with the threats and the bogus lawsuits that she's going to file. And no, people are tired of it. People are tired of it. And believe me, people would rather much. People who don't really have any scruples will go after somebody bigger. They will support somebody bigger because they think, wow, they're a success. So I guess their feelings matter. It's twisted, it's fucked up, I know. It's unfair, it's unjust, but that's the way it is. So it would behoove Barbie to find resources, to learn new techniques to be able to deal with that. This is a workplace for her. Okay, this isn't an amusement center. This is a workplace for her. She should conduct herself accordingly. And she is intelligent. I mean, that's something she has. She has intelligence, and probably more than Colleen Ballinger, in my opinion. But she does have intelligence to do the research. She's done it. She's done it to be able to produce insightful commentary. To be able not just like to pull it together, but put the pieces together that are broken in her life, and to prioritize what really should I get pissed off with. And Backwoods Barbie even said in her video, I remember seeing a part of her video because I had to go back to the Shiny Happy People. I didn't listen to her entire thing, but she did say, she is in a documentary, this docu-series. And she is, just for those few minutes. Now, as far as, she compares herself to Katie Joy, she compares herself to all these people, because I think Backwoods Barbie in her mind thinks that she deserves more share. She deserves a share of the victimhood. And she does go back. She does retreat to trauma dumping and getting people to feel sorry for her and all of that to to kind of divert attention away from her more unsavory behavior on her. And I agree with Renelle in her video. It is like a Katie Joy tactic, indeed. But I don't know. In my opinion, I think Backwoods Barbie is a lot different than Katie Joy in many respects. I think the attention seeking is different between the two. I mean, I can do a comparison between the two. I disagree with Renelle Smith on that, but in that video. But I do think that, Backwoods Barbie, she wants to be the center of attention. But I think she's also fighting for herself and being an advocate for herself. And I don't want to take that away from her. That's a strength. That she can use when it's appropriate to do that, when she needs to do it. But there are we can't, like, for me, sometimes I would go to extremes to fight for something that isn't even worth fighting for. It's like, whatever, it is what it is. And you learn to stop building up all that energy because energy is taxing on the body. Okay, I can't tell you like how many physical symptoms I get putting myself through that, or I had in the past. It's affected my health. It's affected my health a lot less because I'm more stable and I put things where they're supposed to be. But sometimes I'll get upset and be upset the whole day and I'm not productive. That's not something that I do now. I just keep doing what I need to do and dealing with adversity in a way. But I can understand because I've been where backwoods Barbie is. Although taking attention away from other victims, no, I would resent that. There were times I would resent when I thought, oh, they're getting all the attention for this, but where's my justice? But at the same time, when people would go through shit, I would start crying for them, and it's hard. I would start taking on the world's problems on the opposite end of the spectrum. And that's a disorder of the mind and of the thinking, and not using rationale to process these things and learning how to take care of myself if I'm faced with that. I still get sensitive when people are in pain, and I still get these recurring images of them feeling sad or upset. And, it's overwhelming sometimes, but um, that's part of my process that I need to work on. But, you know, Barbie can't take away from what other victims have gone through. Other people have just as much right to share in that experience. And what I have found that when people do share their experiences, even if they don't, if they show support, there is something beautiful from that community that comes from that camaraderie, that care, that love for each other. And you start to see yourself when your emotions become more equitable. It's weird. This is something that I learned recently in another form of justice. When you find the resources or develop the internal resources to take care of yourself, that's part of that equity. You really start to see how you're equal among others. In my personal experience, and it's not to take away from Barbie's experience or the experiences of people in Shiny Happy People that were expressed, but I have found, like, I'm on a particular committee in my community, and there's a lot of work in it, a lot of work. It's volunteer work. There's a lot of research, calling people, asking questions. You do have a little bit of clout because this is sort of like a pilot program, so there is a little bit of clout, but we don't demand things. We don't do anything like that. There's a way we conduct ourselves with sophistication, patience, and all that, right? This has been a real test of all of that for me. But also being with other people. Now, we don't all come from the same situation, but we're all trying to figure out a way to make our community a better place. It has its challenges, but it's like the best feeling like I'm not disconnected from the world. What I say matters. My work that I put into it, my research is recognized. And it's recognized from all of us. And we recognize each other and we thank each other. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate your hard work. Thank you for looking into this. Thank you for your support. Thanks for doing that. This is what I have thanks to your hard work. It's that respect and camaraderie. That is very powerful in healing. Now, this is a volunteer basis. This isn't where I'm making money from it. So it could be different. It could be different. But I think that element could be brought into this because there is a place for everybody on YouTube. I think YouTube is tanking as it is. And I don't want to say that to frighten anybody, but I also think that people can shift the way that this platform is used. I think there is a lot of power and the belief in power in numbers. And I think that if people use that to bring the democratic process back into it, it'll be great. It'll be wonderful. And there's a place for everybody on here. Okay? What Renelle talks about is unique to Renelle because Renelle is a unique person, an interesting person. She does bring a lot of insight into things. Suzanne Tichtemeier is the same way. There's a space for everybody. Okay? Backwoods Barbi has a place in this. And if she learned to control her emotions more, not control them, but to kind of be more productive around them, she's going to see her numbers possibly increase. But also, drama, I think, is a saturated industry, but there's never, how do I say it? There's never not a time to talk about that because there's always drama in the celebrity field, in the YouTube field. And um, who knows? Maybe Backwoods Barbie might reinvent herself and do something else. But for now, still seems to be a market to keep up with these things. And Barbie can still cash in on it. She just can't muddle that um, with her behavior. And she's going to get herself into serious trouble one day because she's going to take it too far. And if people are bullying her, she needs to report that. Barbie needs to report if she feels anybody's bullying her, but it doesn't give her an excuse to tell people to get off the platform if they're not doing that, or threatening them, bringing that to real life because someone else has an opinion. Barbie is powerful enough in her own voice to stand up for herself, but to do the trauma dumping and stuff, it's nonsensical. It's pointless because it's going to take away. People can't bear that. We all have our own traumas to deal with. I really don't care about Backwoods Barbie's trauma. I'm dealing with my own every day. I can empathize with people's expressed experiences. And if Barbie, let's say, had expressed those experiences and I were interested in her channel, yeah, I would want to as a supporter, but I don't want to support her because she's too into her dogma, she's too controlling. I can't fucking deal with it. And I have borderline. I have my own limitations. So I'm not like I don't thrive off of other people's suffering, but I can't, but I don't want people not to express themselves either. But that's just me. Anyway, thanks for listening to me. Take care. Have a good day. And be well.